If you can prove me wrong, I'll see you in the comments. But I'm gonna go out and say that the electric bike company is offering some of the most customizable bikes I have ever seen. What's up, everyone? It's Scott with BikeRide.com. And if you don't believe me, then just take a look at the Model E sitting beside me from the electric bike company Project Beautiful. It's a drop-dead gorgeous e-bike that will be turning heads wherever you go. Plus, it's got a few surprises hidden away that makes this pretty different than your standard build. EBC is one of the few companies that are built in the USA, with all the bikes painted and assembled here at home, so you know you're getting a quality build. It's great to see an American company doing things differently than so many big brands are building bikes in foreign countries. With a love for speed, I instantly noticed this bike can be unlocked to a Class 3 with a 28 mph limit, and that motor doesn't look like a 750 watt. So what's the deal? We're gonna have to put this thing to the test and see if it has any power to back up those good looks. So let's go and get riding. What is the electric bike company Model E Supernova? To start things off, the Model E from the electric bike company is an economy utility bike, and it's been done in a cruiser style with a deep step-through frame. Now, electric bike company is pretty cool because they allow you to customize just about every aspect of your bike, from the color of different components and parts to the frame details, like the shape and the style of your handlebars. Even racks, accessories, and tech features like torque sensors or turn signals are included as options in the online bike builder. So from any of the basic models, you can customize to your heart's content. This makes it so adaptable. The bike we've been sent is the Model E Supernova from Project Beautiful. This was a project in commemoration of the first women's Tour de France that took place in Paris in 2022. The electric bike company released a series of bikes that utilize unique cutting-edge paint technology, including airbrush and custom detailing. The result is a head turner with a custom purple metallic paint that shifts color at different angles. The nicely integrated front and rear racks and other features like lights and turn signals really make the bike stand out from the crowd. The build quality is apparent, with stainless steel components, aluminum racks, and leather highlights. I was impressed with the looks on this bike, and after getting a look at the online builder, I was really pleased with the custom combinations that you could come up with. So if you want to get a bike that's all your own, the electric bike company is really offering a ton of options and customizability that you're not seeing with any other brand. So let's get things started off with the pros. For pro number one, we've got the attention to detail. Everything about the bike is carefully crafted, from the way it's packed and shipped down to the paint on the frame. It's apparent that the electric bike company cares about the quality and is really looking to give each rider a customized experience. With every bike assembled by hand in the USA, you know you're getting a special bike. The sheer level of customization is incredible as well. With each bike hand painted and assembled, it's really on another level. Being able to add some cool items like the technology package, which includes turn signals, lights, and an alarm, and even adding a torque sensor for only $99 means the bike is very customizable and capable. Now, looking at pro number two. We've just got great customization on this bike. Every bike from the electric bike company is fully customizable. And if you think you've seen something like this before, think again. We mean you're really building your bike just how you want it. From the color of every component right to the actual functionality of the part, like choosing a suspension fork or a solid fork, customizing tire colors, and even choosing your handlebar style. Every detail is up to you, and I found this online bike building tool a ton of fun. The electric bike company definitely wins the award for most customization options, and knowing someone is in the factory building the bike to those precise specs really makes you feel involved in the process. It's one of the only brands I've seen that has a full process for taking on custom orders and builds each bike after it's been ordered. So it's a very different experience from browsing a lineup and choosing a preset model. Now for pro number 3. We've got power and comfort in this ride. The electric bike company Model E is a comfortable bike to pedal when it's under power. It's got a big comfy seat and a straight-backed riding stance. So you can change a lot of aspects about it, and it's hard to imagine someone not finding the perfect combination for a comfortable ride. With the ability to select a seat, handlebar, grips, drivetrain options, and add items like a suspension seat post and a suspension fork, you can really make the bike ready for almost any circumstance. Electric Bike Company has really taken the time to craft a package that is both impressive to look at and intuitive to use. It's a unique e-bike that really brings a lot of cool features and creature comforts. I was also impressed with the raw power of the motor. Despite it being rated for 500 watts, the unit wants to push and is willing to power the bike as quickly as you're willing to go. It's not always that you can feel the raw punch of power from a 500 watt motor, even near the top speed, and this does get impacted by hills, with the bike feeling the pain on grades over 12%. But for zipping around on mainly flat ground, the bike and motor really do perform powerfully and well. Now we have to move on to the cons and what didn't work so well. For our first con, we've got the maneuverability of the bike. The bike is large with a frame intended for straight-backed cruising. The model we're testing also has a front and rear basket. So combined, the bike is pretty large, and this can be tough to maneuver when you're in tighter areas. Getting the bike through a door, upstairs, or into an elevator would be a serious challenge. With such nice paint and features, I can see a lot of users being concerned about scratches and bumps when things start to get tight. And when riding, the overall size can also come into play as you attempt to weave through barricades or around obstacles. Turning, in general, is definitely a wide arc, with no quick maneuvers on this bike. The larger 26 by 2.35 inch tires allow the bike to float on looser terrain, but it also means a wider turn radius and slower maneuverability when carving side to side. So buy this bike for the cruising vibes and not for weaving in and out of small spaces. I would say this is much more of a beach bike than a commuting machine. Now for our second con. This is the kickstand placement. Maybe it seems like a small item, but the placement of the kickstand on the bike was a source of consistent annoyance for me. It's set right underneath the cranks and is fairly long stand. The length means it's easy to scrape into the ground if the bike is not aligned correctly. Not only that, but if the cranks sit in the wrong position, it's easy to hit them with the stand. After you have the stand engaged, you can easily get the cranks jammed behind it as you attempt to move the bike with the stand deployed. I found it's a constant annoyance, and it would be looking to change the position of the stand or to replace it. It does look like they have mounting options, so you can put that on the rear chainstay, but we're gonna have to test that out. Moving on to our third con, we have the battery level and some fluctuation in that level. So during the first range test, we noticed that immediately as soon as we started going, the battery level dropped quite significantly. It went from about 100% all the way down to 76% after only a minute or two of pedaling at maximum assist level. So changing the assist level or easing back on the throttle would sometimes allow the bike to regain a few percentage points, but mainly it was these sudden quick drops that would occur. So the difference between riding at 20 miles per hour and 28 miles per hour was significant, with 20 miles per hour allowing for an increased range and slower consumption, while at 28 miles an hour, you could watch the battery drain as the percentage steadily drops. So it's a tough trade-off. The motor is quite powerful, but that does come at a heavy cost for the smaller battery. We noticed that the battery level would fluctuate quite significantly. So when you're riding at these higher assist levels, when it's putting out over 700 watts of power, you can see that the battery level is going to drop quite significantly. We did get a good range test out of the unit, but there was a lot of battery and range anxiety associated with this because that battery level would make these sudden drops. And although it did go all the way to 0%, and if you eased back on the throttle at all or traveled into some lighter, easier terrain, the battery would start to regain. So you could really add some extra miles on than you thought you could go, but it was really an alarming experience to see this battery draining quite so quickly on the bike as we were using a ton of power. So you can see that it is set to really use a lot of battery power when you're requesting it. And for our final con with the unit, we have its ability to climb hills. The electric bike company Model E is powered by a 500-watt rear hub motor. And this motor does not provide a spec for the max output in Newton meters, but we can see from its hill climbing ability that it really struggles when it's pushed past a 12% grade. Consistent with other models that have similar size motors, these smaller 500-watt motors require assistance to power up steeper inclines. While EBC offers a 7-speed drivetrain as an option for this bike, the one that we have is outfitted as a single-speed option. This means we're relying on a 56-tooth front and 18-tooth rear and the 500-watt motor to do all the work for us. While the motor is very peppy on more moderate terrain, on steep hills you feel the pain. The motor tried hard, but the combination of a huge battery draw and slow speed means we would be best to avoid steep hills at all possible on this bike. So what does it do best? Customization and some slick, one-of-a-kind looks are some of the best things about this special e-bike. If you're looking for a ride that is truly unique and want to control every aspect of the build, Electric Bike Company is going to be a great match. If you have some time, check out the EBC website and see the options. It's really borderline overwhelming. Besides the great looks, the bike is just chill. It's well designed, which results in a comfortable ride with a true feeling of quality. It's not the cheapest bike out there, but it does cover all the bases. So if you want to get a premium rig with all the bells and whistles, this is definitely the spot to look. So who should buy this bike? The bike has a cruising attitude and would fit well if you have a flair for customization and a serious love of the color purple. The specific model we have, the Supernova Model E, is a custom package, and it would need the right buyer looking for its features and looks. I can see lots of users enjoying the Model E in its variety of customizable options though. With its deep step-through frame and a near limitless degree of customization, it's got something for almost any situation. So what are some reasons to look elsewhere? The key reason users would not be interested in this bike is if cruiser-style frames are just not your cup of tea. It's got a ton going for it, but with a step-through frame and a straight-backed riding stance at its core, you need to be looking for that riding style. It really lends itself to more of a recreational cruiser than a workhorse, with some stylized features that you wouldn't want to scratch or leave out in the rain. So let's start looking at some of the specific items like the frame and geometry. We have a bright, colorful, and elegantly shaped frame on the Model E, and it's wonderful to look at. It has a very deep and inviting step through, which allows for easy mounting. With a single reinforced down tube, it hides the wiring, and the electrical components are also hidden with a large gusset at the seat post. The rear triangle of the bike is formed from aluminum tubing, and it features a bolted-on, color-matched rear rack. The rear also has various mounting points for the other accessories available. The rear rack has an integrated brake light with turn signals mounted on the tubing. And the front fork is a solid, curved aluminum fork in a very elegant shape, and it's also color matched. The front headset is custom designed so the basket can attach directly to the frame and not impact the steering, allowing it to carry more weight effectively. Stainless steel hardware is highlighted throughout the frame, which also features tight welds and a great paint job. The bike really has a timeless feeling of quality with a combination of old school styling and new school technology. It's also nice to know that the entire frame was painted and assembled in the USA by hand, with so many being assembled overseas in large automated factories nowadays. Moving on to the motor on this unit. We have a 500-watt brushless rear hub motor, which is made by the brand MX US, and it powers the Model E. It provides good acceleration and top speed over level ground and smaller inclines. The tuning from the controller is favored for torque, and the bike provides good power. It's peppy and has a consistent feeling of power and drive. The settings allow you to change the top speed, and when setting it up to 28 miles per hour, the motor is capable but struggles slightly in the top end. When it comes to hills, the peppy motor gives it all it has, and I was pleasantly surprised at its ability to climb smaller hills despite being a single speed bike. The motor is only a 500 watt though, so prepare to lose some speed on steep hills, with the bike beginning to really struggle when you exceed a 12% grade. You'll also notice the battery level quickly falls when you're using the maximum power available. So the 12 amp hour test model we have here felt a little bit undersized when operating the bike at high speed for any real length of time. You can basically watch the power drop as you accelerate hard. Having the battery level displayed as a percentage was a great way to ensure you knew how much you had left in the tank, and I found that despite some major fluctuation in the power meter, the bike kept going right to 0% and it did have a pretty good total range. Now looking at the charger, battery removal, and keys. The bike comes equipped with an impressive 48 volt, 4 amp output fast charger, which is well built with an aluminum case and internal forced air cooling. The charger refreshes the battery in 4 to 6 hours, and it can be plugged into the battery when removed from the bike or plugged into the bike's charging port when the battery is installed in the unit. The key is opposite the charging port, mounted at the top of the down tube and highly visible. After turning the key, the battery is fully released by turning the small lever mounted above the battery. Returning the battery requires the key to be inserted and turned, and then the battery simply slides back in. I noticed the space is a little bit tight when removing and inserting the battery, so be careful you don't bang the fenders and scratch them up. Moving on to the cockpit and control. The sloped handlebars contain a number of switches in a slightly different cockpit setup than what we would normally see for these kind of bikes. We have no shifting levers, which is freeing up some definite space, and instead we have a few different switches which are available to control some of the bike's features. A large LCD display in the center of the bars is controlled with a simple 3-button switch. A power button in the center and up and down buttons are used to move through the options and the pedal assist levels. Besides this, we have a horn button. On the other side of the bars, we have a high and low beam setting for the lights and a thumb style shifter. Our model also came with a mechanical bell, which does double duty for hiding an air tag inside. Topping off the cockpit is a set of premium Tektro Dorado hydraulic brake levers. These are great components with a wonderful lever feel on a 4-piston caliper. It's a pretty cool mix of old and new, with some great technology controlled by some simple mechanical switches. Now let's take a look at the drivetrain on this unit. The Model E Supernova has a slightly different drivetrain than most e-bikes, which is combining a single-speed 18-tooth rear freewheel with a 56-tooth front crankset, and the bike relies heavily on the motor for propulsion. Luckily, the 500-watt motor is happy to provide the pep to assist. Without it, pedaling requires significant effort, but on flat ground, it's not impossible. We've got a set of Tektro Dorado 4-piston hydraulic brakes and levers with Tektro 180mm rotors, which provide powerful and reliable stopping on the bike. It's a nice upgrade to see when we're normally seeing a 2-piston brake, and the Dorado is a very powerful and reliable unit with some great high-end looks. Now, I really enjoy the lever feel on these, finding them to be a firm feel under the finger, which I like, and the way that the brake pressure is applied is also very smooth, so you can really modulate the pressure pretty easily on these so that you get a really nice, smooth stopping time. If you get a chance to take a look at one of the videos from Electric Bike Company on the manufacturing process for these bikes, check it out, because it's pretty cool to see the work that they put into making the bikes right here in the USA. I especially love seeing the way that they make the wheel sets in-house, and you get to see the employee working on the truing machine. It's just another example of the quality level being applied here. So we have a custom branded tire with a nice dual color, and you can actually customize the tire color to match your bike in the online tool. So we have a 26-inch by 2.3-inch tire with a light tread pattern. So it's not going to be crazy traction in off-road, but it is reliable on hard surfaces, and it offers enough float and traction to get you through some loose gravel and dirt without much trouble. Overall, I found no issues with the tires and the wheel set, and I love the ability to customize both. Something that really stands out is the set of fenders we have on this bike. They're also made by Electric Bike Company in the USA and are crafted from real wood. So these are a mix of maple and walnut, and they really stand out on the bike. I mean, what other company is taking the time to make its fenders custom for every bike from real wood? Looking at the kickstand on this unit, we did have a few issues. It's a pretty long kickstand which sits in the center of the bike, directly under the cranks. I was not a fan of the placement or practicality of the stand, and I found it annoying to deploy, being stuck underneath the cranks there. And it would consistently get stuck or bang against them when I moved the bike. I've never had a bike with a kickstand placed so close to the cranks, and I can see why it's an issue when it's set up like this. Let's take a look at the contact points. Attention to detail is forefront with the Electric Bike Company, and they've taken the same time with these contact points. Looking at the grips first. The grips are a custom leather lock-on grip with a smooth shape. I love the light colored leather and the fact that they're a practical shape and won't move around on the bars. Plus, the Electric Bike Company logo looks great on the custom leather. The only downside was that I did find them pretty slippery. So while they were great to look at, they seem to be a little bit less functional. You could swap these out for some of the textured rubber grips on the website, which seems like they would survive water better and provide better traction on your hands. Taking a look at the seat, we've got a large and comfortable branded seat, which is the same color leather as the grips. And it's a great touch. With some added spring suspension in the seat, plus the high density foam construction, makes it very comfortable to sit on. I was also happy to note that the seat really doesn't get in the way when you were pedaling, at least for me, and I still found that it was comfortable at the end of our range test. The only issue I can see with the leather seat like this is the water being damaged to it if it's left outside. And finally, we've got a flat set of Wellgo pedals, which completes the contact points. These pedals differ from most because they have no pegs. Instead, they offer some light rubber traction points, and the plus is that you can ride this bike with no shoes on, which adds to the cruising vibe, and it's a great way to ride it if you're around the beach and in the summertime. But when it comes to shoes, the pedals can be a little bit slippery, and I found that if they're wet, they can be a little more slippery. So do be careful with these flat pedals, but in general, I do find that they work just fine. We have a ton of accessories available for this bike, and the Electric Bike Company offers a ton of different ways to make it your own. So not only when you're first ordering the model, but after as well. You can purchase replacement parts and accessories online, and they have just about everything you would ever need for your new bike. So go and check out that online builder if you have a chance. Honestly, I'm shocked by the sheer amount of customization that is available on this bike. It's really incredible. The Model E is a great example of an easy to love cruiser style utility bike with only a few drawbacks. It's got some great styling that truly sets it apart, and that Made in the USA sticker is worn with pride. It means that the e-bike is not going to be sent back for a refund anytime soon. If you're in the market for a bike that brings some distinct styling and want to make sure that the one-of-a-kind model is yours, then the Model E is probably the bike for you. Plus, if you want to turn some heads without having to think about all those options, this exact bike, the Supernova Model E, is available online in this precise configuration. Whatever you choose, I was easily impressed by the attention to detail and build quality that goes into every single one of these bikes. So let's hope that we can test out a few of the other models. Is this bike for you? Check out the detailed specs at bikeride.com and see user and expert reviews. You can also check out other great e-bikes and see them rated to find your perfect match. Do you have a question or something you want to say? Let me know in the comments and we'll start getting you some answers right away. And if you liked the video, give us a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so we can keep on bringing you the latest e-bike reviews and news. I'm Scott with BikeRide.com, and thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the ride.